feature.
We are live.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Um, I am Bryant Francis, contributing editor to Gamasutra, and I am joined today by Alex Waro, news editor at Gamasutra.
That's
Say hi,
me.
Alex.
Hi, Alex. How's it going, Bryant?
Sweet. Um, a good old classic Mel Brooks jape. Everyone,
Mhm.
walk this way. Walk this way. Um, Sorry, I'm probably you're probably seeing my face like floating in the bottom corner here. We are here today to stream Titanfall 2, and we are going to play Titanfall 2's like most interesting level. It's called Effect and Cause, and we're here doing this. We were trying to get the team in to talk about it, but scheduling stuff didn't quite work out. But
Mhm.
it's just such like a compelling level that I wanted to stream it so that Alex and I could talk about it because we've both played it, and we both like it's such a great thing to break down because there's so many different ways to talk about how this level was crafted and what's special about it. So you ready to go, Alex?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
All right. Here we go. So, the audio may not be that loud for those of you watching at home, but what's happened is, um, following the events at the start of the game, where our hero Jack Cooper, rifleman Jack Cooper, is turned into a Titan pilot, we've made our way through a bunch of places trying to make contact with a one Anderson, another like commander military dude person, and
Sure.
they're supposed to be here in this place. And then we're after a lot of shenanigans it took to get here. We're finally here, and we're gonna see what happens. And then this happens. What? What? I mean, I've seen this. I've played this level before, so like I knew that was coming, but like it still is just so cool to look at.
Whoa, what does it mean? Is it foreshadowing?
Yeah. And look, you can still like this isn't like some special area. This is like you can still do all the things that you normally do.
hmm Yeah, so I think what is so interesting here for anyone who's watching and is not familiar with the game, hasn't been through it already, is that up until this point in this game, it's been pretty like I don't want to say by the numbers, but it's been if you were to pick up a copy of a game about men shooting each other with big robots, you what you would expect from a campaign is what the first levels of Titanfall 2 are like. It's
Yeah.
it's run around, it's go through a roach storyline, it's run up some walls and shoot some guys with guns, and that's it. And then here, all of a sudden, this is very almost Half-Life esque, I might say.
Yeah.
There's something weird going on. There's strange science affecting your way of playing. You might be in another dimension. You don't really know,
Yeah.
uh, and it's very striking, that
Yeah.
transition.
I would like to just give a shout out to Warblade X, who has joined us in the chat, who said such a fun level. Look at this. Look at this little like Academy Hall. And now it's a burned thing. This briefly reminds me. I wonder if this is actually real quick. I wonder if this is a shout out to the beginner's guide at all, because this feels like the beginner's guide a little bit. No, seriously, when you walk down the lecture hall in that game and then you turn around and walk back up.
Yeah. I think I see that might be a stretch because when you said that, I thought you were going to say Bloodborne. There's a moment in Bloodborne when you walk into a very similar lecture hall. The
Yeah.
only difference is in Bloodborne, it's like in another terrible parallel dimension full of like horrible slug creatures, and then they come out of the walls and try to kill you.
Oh God.
So I think maybe it's probably not.
Yeah. And shout out to Pat and Pitt for also hosting our stream. My first
Yeah.
reaction when encountering this level, although I actually am realizing some interesting things right now about the way this is set up,
hmm
was yeah. See, I did that the same thing time too. I was so used to shooting those little monsters. Um, I think the first interesting thing that had me was like my reaction was like this grin on my face. It was very like, oh yes, like things are getting weird.
Right.
I
And
found
listen,
weird to be delightful.
yeah, let's just dig into that for a minute because I agree with you, and I'm sure not everyone feels the same way, but I have to assume most people do, just because, like, why wouldn't you love strange, interesting left turns
Yeah,
in game design? And I think those kind of like that's a big ask for a game development team to sort of not only build an interesting, comprehensive, and like holistic game experience, but keep changing it up in a way that keeps the player interested.
yeah,
But when you can pull it off in a way like this level seems to do, um, it can be remarkably effective.
yeah. I'm gonna point out one little inconsistently in the way this level works is that once you in this part of the level,
Nobody saw you.
nobody
Nobody like
saw you, but
reacted
then
to
once
you.
you get the interesting stuff later, you people will see you.
Yeah.
See, now there are these birds seem okay. They aren't too interested in me.
I will say that once it becomes clear what's going on, I think there are some holes in the way um, in the conceit they use, which involves time travel in a way.
Yeah.
But having recently watched the fine feature film Doctor Strange, uh,
Ah.
which also involves some time conceits, I think they at least do a better job
Yeah.
than that big budget Marvel movie. So I
Yeah.
think, and that's tricky. Like whenever you're a writer or designer who's trying to work around the constraints of space and time in an interesting way, like it can be hard to make that believable, but also seem kind of crazy in sci-fi.
Yeah. I want to point out, you brought up Half-Life 2 earlier, and I was actually, oop, I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah, you got this. It's fine. I'm just not realizing as I watch you play, having played this level relatively recently, that you later come out this way,
Yeah.
and I didn't even notice that. And actually, this whole area is a pretty good, what you might call a combat arena. Although
Yeah.
I was
Oh, yeah, here's the major we're looking for. Anderson, yeah. You brought up Half-Life 2, which um, I think that's a really interesting way to talk about this game because I think Titanfall is really interesting in that it took a really great set of gameplay mechanics. It's that were pretty hardly defined by the first Titanfall, and then
hmm
approached level design not as like I don't know. It doesn't feel anything like Call of Duty, which is these are Infinity Ward devs,
yeah.
the previous, excuse me, and it doesn't feel anything like that. It feels like every level is so holistically shaped, not to be about like a war setting, but about the play.
hmm
That's what feels different. Like Call of Duty levels are pretty great, but they're always supposed to be about the setting so much, kind of like in what's going on in this close narrative. And this time it's like you stumbled into some weird shit. Is the
Right.
regular feature, defining feature of this level design. Like the level
Yeah.
before this is also really good. I wish we had time to stream it. It's where you're supposed to taking a shortcut, and BT gets captured, and it's really funny. You just watch a giant robot get picked up by a claw, and he's going help, help, help.
It's so sad.
Yeah,
It's so good.
he gets captured, and he's and you're supposed to go rescue him through this factory that just gets weirder and weirder as you go in because you realize it's building like these prefab houses. And maybe
Mhm.
you talked about earlier about how there's like kind of a weird way that there's the payoff for these ideas doesn't always stick. Like
Yeah.
even in this level, once you realize what's going on, it's like, oh, okay. But the play is still fun in both cases. Like in that case, I was waiting for like those prefab houses to turn into something weird, but it just turned into like a nightmare, like utopia place kind of.
hmm
But then the play wound up staying strong because you weren't just exploring like these prefab areas. Then you were beginning to break out of the domes and going from dome to dome, and there was actually something I think very subtle going on in terms of the spaces you were moving through, because you would be in these little small environments, and then you would be on top of like the tube in a space
Yeah.
that almost didn't feel meant to be navigated, but it was just subtly carved out to be.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I feel you. I maybe
yeah,
didn't have quite the same experience because I don't particularly enjoy shooting man games. Like they're fine, but I'm not a huge fan. But I am a huge fan of giant robots.
yeah, like this one.
Uh, any kind that's a good look right there. There we go. Yeah. So any game that has that, I'm in. I'm on board. I see what they
Yeah,
got to.
quick shout out on this game to the little text adventure feature or the little like chat feature with BT. It's just great. Like,
Yeah, I don't. It obviously doesn't have any meaningful impact on the actual flow of the story, but it's decently written, and it helps build character and build
yeah,
a sort of like resonance, an attachment to this otherwise um, kind of featureless giant robot.
and there's a little bit earlier on here where you say like BT that's cold, and he goes yes, his body's approximately like 20 something degrees or something. Uh,
Yeah, I didn't say that, but
and it was really I said that it was, and he's just like cold, sarcastic as hell.
I actually think there's a missed opportunity there. I mean, it's small. I think this game is quite good, and I really enjoyed my time with it. I saw it all the way through, which I
Oh god,
don't
yeah,
do
this
with.
part's also really good. I forgot about this part, and I just played this a few weeks ago. Like this part where you're just surrounded by the robots who can't shoot you,
Yeah.
but they can
But
really fuck you up.
something I was sort of sad about is that they missed the opportunity to tell you more about who you are through those
Yeah,
conversation options. Like something we talked about that I was like irrationally exuberant about way earlier this year was in Firewatch. in Camposanto's sort of first-person hiker
Yeah.
Firewatch, there's a map, and when you open the map, your character throughout the game, your character changes the map and makes doodles and notes, and those doodles and notes are, I think, a little bit dependent on what choices you make, on what you say.
Yeah.
So in a way, that little interaction lets you see into the mind of the person you're inhabiting, and you can do that as a game designer through simple things like a map screen or a set of dialogue choices or whatever. You don't have to, but when it's done well, I think it really um, helps take the story to another level. And I wish they'd done that here, because the
Yeah.
character you play is kind of, he seems to have an interesting backstory, and you sort of get a feeling that he has strong opinions and a perspective and hopes and dreams in the
Yeah.
beginning, and then it just kind of fades, and you just sort of become a cipher.
Yeah.
And
I'd love to play a fleshed out Titanfall. Like I think this is almost like this is the way I wish a lot more military shooters had gone in some ways,
Mhm.
because it pulls back on realism to the point of, like I said, to the point of play and to the point of colorful dialogue that I wish we could spend so much more time with the characters and environment that they're in, with the civil war that's going on, because it actually seems very colorful. I may be out of bullets.
Yeah, something we can't get into probably in this level, because it won't. What's interesting about this
Yes,
level is the actual level design and the way they use a certain mechanic we're going to see in a little while. But
which
in
I'll
this
try to
game
get
in
to.
general, yeah, no, I mean, no rush. Like, this is all fine. Just don't die.
Yeah,
No pressure. But one thing I do, having recently finished this game, I do wish it had done better, was just the narrative in general. Like, this is a game. This
I
game is BT's
I
story.
can I
It's
interrupt
about
real
the
quick,
robot.
Alex?
Yeah, of
I just
course.
want to point out something that we saw here. This game is slowly right now introducing you into the elements of the way time travel works. So
Hmm.
the first things that like get brought up, first you just the idea of switching, then the fact that you see the robots that are busted in the future, in the present, but working in the past, and these walls were like a little laser grid wall here. So now you're learning before the game gives you control over it. It's slowly like introducing you to the problems you're gonna have to solve, like this,
Yeah.
and now they're gone. Oh, but there's a
So that,
body here from the guy I killed. What? Oh, slightly exaggerating for YouTube shot man.
So
Um,
that's what we're getting at, right? It's like earlier when you were jumping in time to the other point, nobody was reacting to you. Now all of a sudden they're noticing you, and
yeah.
it's crazy because well, we'll see, I guess, as you get farther on.
Look, I just want to point out, see these little smile things here? The smiley
Those are
robot?
great, very charming.
Very charming, and my girlfriend was watching when I had to take the arc reactor away from the one robot, and it
Hmm.
got a sad face, and she was so mad at me. She was just
I
yelling
mean,
at me.
you hurt that robot's feelings.
I hurt the robot's feelings. Shout
I mean, it's
out
kind of,
to Chris
yeah.
Graft, editor in chief of Gamasutra,
Oh, you mean
who says he
Chris?
loves Gamasutra. He's in the comments.
That's weird. So yeah, like we're talking about the way this game does narrative.
Yeah,
And I think it was a real missed opportunity, and I think it's still interesting. Like it's
yeah,
still this is a game about BT. It's not about anybody else.
yeah,
Um, but it coming off as a sequel to a game that sort of like died before its time. I think they had a real opportunity to tell an interesting story and build a narrative that could support a franchise.
yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I have no idea who your character is really, or why he's doing what he's doing, who the militia is, or who the IMC are.
Yeah, it's. I think the studio struggled hard with this. I think the studio struggled to like build the Titanfall brand. Is going to be an interesting story if once as Respawn. Yeah,
Oh, hey,
this is it. This is press, ladies and gentlemen. Press L1 to time travel.
that's a fancy bangle.
In the comments, I think the smiley face robot is a reference to Gertie and Moon. That could be, and I've actually Germ the Worm says that, and I've seen that
Mhm.
movie and love that movie. So
Yeah,
like, let's watch. Press L1 to time travel. Press L1 to time travel.
right.
Can I shoot these guys? Actually, I think there's an achievement for
Why
it.
would you do that?
Yeah, you're right. No,
They're so
that would be cruel
they're,
to do on stream.
they're so cute.
Yeah, let's not do that. Animal cruelty is bad. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Hi, punch, time travel. This is interesting. This marker here is like a weird little crutch for this system because it reminds
Right.
you where they are. Punch. That's what I
So
love.
that is a great example of a subtle effect that
Punch.
communicates a level of game design that is not immediately apparent, which is that when you time travel, everyone stays in the same place and you can move.
Yeah.
Like because you're moving to 2 different times, and that's self-evident if you think about it. But when you're going through this level, like I at least didn't consider that. So I got halfway through and I was like, wait a minute, I can get through these combat encounters by like taking care of one guy and then popping out of time and then running around behind the rest of them and popping back into that time stream, and they will actually react to that and be like, oh, where'd he go? Where is he? He's
Yeah, because
behind us.
you're not popping, like, time isn't moving forward in both directions. It's only moving forward in the present. You're
Right.
popping back to the exact same moment in the past and only move time. It's kind of like interesting because it's almost like Super Hot's time moves when you move. I
Hmm.
forget. Oh, that's right. You have to get in here. Um, it's almost like time moves when you move, but it's not quite that. Um,
And that is it's once you see it in action, it's a very simple and intuitive system, and that's a serious strength of this design because it couldn't have been simple to come up with. Like I can't imagine it. Like we don't see anything like this in most games, really. You know, first person shooter or otherwise. This is
yeah.
a really smart implementation, and it's very intuitive and easy to grasp.
Interesting, just like trying to poke at the variables of what this can do. So there's a room full of bad guys in the other timeline right now, and I dropped a grenade pack in there, and I tried to
Mhm.
trigger it from this timeline, but I couldn't because the developers looked at that and said, "No, we won't let you do that. We won't let. If you want to trigger that, you have to do this." Bye. And then I go back
Well,
here,
I mean, like
and then I go, and then I go back.
I
Like,
wouldn't be surprised if that's just a limit of the actual engine and the way the level is built too. Like I can't imagine there are two. I can't imagine you're physically moving a player character between two separate levels. I
yeah,
imagine you're changing level state somehow.
yeah,
Um, but like I imagine both level. Well, I guess both levels probably are kept in memory at the same time.
yeah. Let's
Um,
talk about the fact that to make this level, they essentially had to make, even though it's one level it's kind of, I think it's one fixed level geometry with the
mhm.
barrier. The barrier is artificial. Like if you were to map out the level, it's really one level.
Yeah,
Oh shoot, how do,
it's very linear. I mean, there's
yeah,
not.
but it does mean there's two sets of assets everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not safe. Oh,
But the robot is safe.
the robot is safe. I will not hurt the robot.
So we were talking early ago, and I think we should make mention of it here. There is an article on PC Gamer that references an interview at Gamescom with one of the game's design team. I guess the art director on Titanfall 2 basically mentioned that like the way this single player campaign was designed, they basically had about 20 developers on the game's design team sort of like come up with ideas for levels based on like a specific thing in the game. Like because Titanfall 1, you know, as we remember, didn't have a single player campaign. It just had
Yeah,
multiplayer modes with some like story sprinkled in if you wanted it. So they
yeah,
had to go into that back into that multiplayer only game and pick out specific aspects of the game's design, whether it's the wall running or the double jumping or the Titan or whatever, and figure out ways to build levels around that. I'm not really sure where the idea to build a level around time travel came from. Like time travel was not, as far as I know, a mechanic in the first game.
no, it wasn't.
Um, but it does account for why, and you know, we can't show this on stream, that the level before this was very different. Like you didn't have any time travel abilities, you will lose those abilities in the next level. The level before this was all about like running on walls and sort of like traversing environmental puzzles. It's
Yeah,
very Portal-esque, honestly.
yeah,
Um,
especially with the crazy, or the not, excuse me, especially with the toying manipulative character who's like, she was like just trying to play with you.
Yeah, so I think it's worth considering as a game designer. Like if you have the resources and the studio assets and the time and the will, like perhaps it's worth considering whether maybe perhaps like single player campaigns rather than being designed as a linear series of progressing encounters, whether it's you know whether however you start in that building that pipeline, whether you
Yeah,
start at the end or the beginning, like rather than designing a campaign as a linear set, you design it as a set of level of like discrete levels, almost
yeah,
like puzzles, and then
yeah.
sort of put it together somehow.
I'm going to go
Um,
real quick. There's two thoughts I need to get out really quick. One is that we're about to go into what I think is one of the most interesting rooms because this is like a full scale combat thing where you cannot basically solve this puzzle until you've killed everyone in the room. And
sure.
I'm on hard mode, so it's pretty hard to kill everyone in the room. So
Mhm.
take note, everyone, as we watch. We'll see if Brian Francis's combat skills truly hold up. The second thing, there's a second thought I have, which is really quick. Looking at these guns, I think this
Mhm.
is interesting. I made the Half-Life comparison earlier, but I think there's something very different than Half-Life in that the guns here, their identity blends together so much more, which sounds a
Mhm.
little disturbing to say out loud. Like, guns are very dangerous things. Please be
But
very
they all kind of
careful.
do the same thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
they
it's
do
not.
such similar things, which is not what Half-Life and the classic puzzle shooter games did. Guns had distinct identities to solve distinct problems, but the designers here took that as an advantage, which is that they're just different enough that like you can sort of figure out what you want to do. Like I always have a shotgun on because it's the easiest thing to kill anyone with.
Hmm.
But I think for certain players who are used to this Call of Duty-esque thing, I think they did. I think they did this really well, even though it is arguably not the best gun design in the world. Um,
Yeah, I think we're mostly in agreement, although
yeah,
I have a different perspective on it, which is that I feel like most first-person shooters, for the majority of the industry's life, have been like not actually based in realism. Like you think about Doom, you think about Wolfenstein, you think about Quake. Like
yeah,
most of the weapons in those games, those seminal games, are very distinct and very different. Like in Doom, like every weapon has a totally different way of firing and interacting with the world, and you use it in different encounters in different ways. Same in UT. But then like a game like this, it seems to draw a lot on like sort of the weapon design of a Call of Duty, as you mentioned, which has a real fetish for realism.
yeah,
So it doesn't matter that like,
yeah. I
I
wasn't
mean,
saying older games. I thought older games did have way more distinct identities. I was saying, holy crap!
right. But even like as we saw, I think Doom is this year, right? The new Doom,
Yeah,
Doom 2016. Some of the weapons there are vaguely similar, but they all do very different things. And here I agree with you. Like I just picked a gun, whatever gun. I honestly couldn't tell you the name of the weapon I used throughout the whole game.
yeah.
And
The
most of
the EV8 auto shotgun's really great. The Mastiff's just useful this level. I like the how the EV8 feels more, but the Mastiff is more productive for what you do
right,
here.
but
Um, Sorry. Real
it's
quick,
just
let's go to the
that.
comments.
Oh, yeah.
Warblade and Germ the Worm had a little conversation pointing out that there are a few points where if you time travel in the wrong way, you can get fucked up, like horrific, like temporal problem style.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, like trapped in a wall or something. That'd be
yeah,
cool.
like it does like punish you. Oh God.
I wonder if that's a glitch or just like it's actually built in. I never saw that happen when I played through.
Yeah.
Although I definitely died a lot, which was rough.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, this room is about it's
Hmm.
crap. I hate the robots. I hate the robots so much. The
Well,
robots.
that's how we make sure that the robot outpost never happens. Just make sure to hate robots.
God. Let's not talk about.
That's the danger, right? If Skynet happens, like if you just put smiley faces on all of them,
Yeah, we'll be okay.
who's, who's gonna say anything?
All right, so let's get ready to rumble.
So, yeah, I will say these open combat arenas, I personally don't enjoy very much. I find them like just not fun. But I am impressed with the design here. Like this here, not so much. But pretty soon we're going to get to an arena. Although there you just saw it, where throughout most of this level, the game's design, like it teaches you that one time stream is safe.
Yeah,
If it's in the past and there are robots, and in the present they'll just be like nice robots or text, and they're not going to hurt you. So you can hide in one part of time. And
yeah,
if you're fighting Marines in the present or in the past, then in the present there's nothing there.
yeah.
And here, for the first time, you begin to use your time power
Ah, fuck.
as a sanctuary, and
Sorry.
the game punishes you for that. And
Yeah,
that's going to get even worse as we
yeah.
go
I'm
on.
gonna point out that so that actually I think the cloak was in the first Titanfall, and this is actually just in a lot like they take your cloak away, but really you just get a better cloak for this level. You're hiding
Yeah,
in
I
another.
never
You're hiding in time.
hiding in time,
Uh,
just in time. Yeah,
all right.
I think that's a really smart implementation.
Yeah, maybe
And
that's what where part of the inspiration came was. Wait a minute, what if we just really fucked with the cloak?
yeah, I would love to talk to a level designer or whoever came up with the general conceit for this level, because it's never replicated again. I mean, this sci-fi plot, like the plot takes a hard sci-fi turn here,
Yeah,
and that's how it goes for the rest of the game. But you never do this again, and that's it's really interesting. And I think kind of bold, to design a whole mechanic and a whole thing,
yeah.
and just like
One interview I read, I think it was on VG 24/7 or something, was like I forget where I read it, but they what they said was it was designed to work for a whole game. Like it was pitched as like this could be a game we make. Is
right.
Time Titanfall the game? Time Titanfall, if you will. Fuck, crap. This is hard. But they wound up only using it for a level because their belief was that a honed version of this would go over better with players than a full game. Nope.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I personally, I think most games are too long. Like almost any game you can mention, from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 to Journey to Abzu, um, most games I play are about 20% too long in my opinion, and that's just because I'm probably dead inside. This game I didn't feel that way, and that's because I think just about every level is different and unique. Whereas like in most games, they have a progression curve where they teach you a set of tricks and mechanics, and then like constantly challenge you to use them to execute difficult, more difficult challenges, and like that tends to be kind of boring after a
Yeah.
while.
Quick shout out to the audio design for this team. These like little bits where you're like hearing the soldiers panicking and stuff is like so great. Like they're just like, what's going on? Like
So
it's a
great.
little bit writing, but it's also like timing and stuff to like make this whole to really sell this like grenade coming in. Like think of what you must be to these people. I read one article like talking about someone who felt morally conflicted about doing what I'm doing right now.
Oh, you're a wizard. I mean, you're literally a wizard.
You are literally, and it's also
You're
weird
you're
because like this didn't happen until you came back. This is literally like a weird like it's a time loop of the strangest variety that oh no, it's pretty like straight time loop. Like this didn't happen until you showed up.
Yeah, I tried not to think about it too hard when I was playing because
There,
it's just strong enough and neat enough a conceit to be believable on the surface,
yeah,
but I don't think it holds up if you really thought about all the implications of what you're doing right now.
yeah.
I'm also not totally sure why your buddy was like stuck in the ground, like halfway stuck in the floor.
Well, that gets explained later, as we'll see when we get down there.
Oh, does it? I
Yeah,
somehow I missed that. I don't know. But whatever. The design of this level is striking.
yeah,
It's a standout. I think it's the standout level in this game, and I think we're not alone in that. And the fact that any level in a game could have that effect on people is significant. I mean,
yeah,
there aren't when you think about the like the panoply of games that have been released in the past 30, 40 years, like
yeah,
I would be impressed if you could name more than 5 or 10 levels that have really stuck with you. I think this is a strong contender. I don't
yeah,
know if it's like Shale Cradle level from Thief, but it's
yeah. Warblade
really
points out that a singularity had a mechanic like this was time travel between dimensions, but like I said,
yeah.
this feels like a modification of the cloak more than
Well, no,
a individual like oh time like I said. I wonder if that's how they came to it more.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't look at the design of Singularity, which I think was done by Raven.
Yeah,
So Singularity is basically an example of how you make a whole game around a set of
yeah,
time mechanics.
yeah,
And it was, in that sense, at least, I have a lot of respect for that game.
yeah.
Um, it's a smart design avenue that I think not a lot of first-person shooter designers go down.
Yeah.
Um, it was really
Chat, let me know if you're hearing some weird audio glitches, because I'm getting some weird stuff in my earbuds, but that could just be my
is that from
my
is that from the
headphones.
game or me?
No, it sounds like something from like because we're streaming this using the PS4 app, like there's some kind of weird audio thing,
Hmm.
possibly, but not sure. Also, I want to point out the emotional effect of like, so they deliver a story scene here and narrative here,
Yeah.
and then look at this. Like this is what you warp to. I wonder what that was. Oh,
Yeah, you should probably get that. Yeah, there you go.
but like this going between pristine and apocalyptic is very it's just such good tone.
I
Uh,
um I don't know. I agree with you, but I think it only stands out.
wait, we came in
I
here.
mean this in the nicest way possible because most games that look like this and that come out in this time of year don't don't do much at all. I mean, they're very heavy-handed and they just beat you over the head with what you're supposed to be thinking and feeling at a given moment, or they don't even address it at all. And
Yeah,
here it's comparatively light, and so there's an option for a player to move through this level and have feelings, right?
yeah,
In a way that maybe you don't have that option in a game like Battlefield 1, where it can be very serious and respectful in tone, but it definitely lets you know like you are playing a video game about a very serious event, and you're gonna have a fun time, solving combat puzzles in this game, but also it's very serious and horrible things happen, and never forget. Whereas here, you have the freedom to be like, oh, this is real bad. Or you could just, play it like a Portal level with
yeah.
guns.
I will say one of the there's an interesting. This isn't like my ultimate opinion of the game. This might get interesting. Whoa, whoa.
Nice.
Um,
You're fine. You
yeah,
got this.
yeah. Then that wasn't a bad fall anyway. There's an interesting thing with this game where I feel like it is playful,
Hmm.
and this isn't lunar resistance or anything, but there are several guns and weapons in the game that are just uh, like whoa, like that was pretty bad, but I did that human being there. So it's weird. It's sometimes it can feel weird to be playful when and yet it have it be so like effective.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with you, and I think that's probably because we're at a point right now in first-person shooter design where it's it's characters can appeal more realistic than ever. Can appear, sorry.
Yeah.
So you know, there's and also robots are big.
Yeah,
Robots are
robots.
huge.
The robots in
So
this game are big.
so more than ever before, it feels like you have games that are celebrating the challenge of combat, of like moving through 3D space and then moving other things through 3D space to eliminate threats or whatever.
Yeah.
And if it's robots, then it's fine. And if it's zombies, it's kind of gross, but it's also probably fine because they could never be real. But if it's human beings, it's weird. And it's
Yeah.
especially weird because you can no longer just be like, this is just a video game and it's fun and everything is cartoony. It's like, here's a hyper realistic human being that probably has their own thoughts, feelings, and goals in life. I'm just going to senselessly murder them.
Yeah.
I'm also going to beat up these robots for a while. And who cares
Yeah.
about them?
I
And
again, it's sort of like I don't think of it. This isn't the dreaded ludonarrative dissonance, if you will, of Titanfall 2, but it's I would say it is. Oh crap! I hate these guys. I
which guys?
really hate the bomb droids in this.
Oh yeah,
I think they're very hard to deal with on console. Like if I was playing on PC, I might be having an easier time.
yeah.
You
I
had some
forgot what
thoughts on the controls actually, compared like for PlayStation 4.
Yeah, they're probably silly thoughts though. Are they any good? I don't know. Yeah. I had thoughts on the controls. They're okay. I think PC controls are better. I don't know.
But this is like a thing to talk about with this level because like you're expected to be able to do like some pretty twisted geometric shapes with your hands in order to pull off like the wall running jumps. Like we're about to hit the wall running puzzle soon. Also, I
Oh,
know around this corner is about to be a wall of pain. So
yeah. I mean, you're right. What you're remembering is that when we first started playing this game, sort of alongside each other, although not literally.
ah crap.
Oh, this part was hard.
Yeah, this
I'm not sure I read the design intent here very well because I didn't understand how to get through it, and I eventually just like cheated by using time powers.
that's
I
probably what you're
think
supposed to do.
I think what you're supposed to do is do a cool
Ah.
slide. Oh yeah, well that's probably not the best. Sorry about that. Yeah, I kind of want to get to that part again because like I was so confused. It seems like it's meant so you can do a cool run, slide, wall jump, whatever, and then like quickly change time
Yeah.
so that because you can approach here in the present, but once you go in the past, you're
Yeah.
gonna get cut down. So you like real quickly
Like
change. Yeah,
this.
like that. Yeah. I feel like what you're supposed to do because right at this part in the game, at least for me, it reminded me how to throw grenades. It was like, hey, you can throw grenades, pressing
Yeah.
whatever. And
Ah.
I was like, oh, I should probably
Oh.
just run in and then slide and then time shift and then throw a grenade and like it'll look really cool. And then I just kept dying, so I just cheated and ran past everything.
Yeah.
You can run past everything; it's fine.
Yeah. You can do it like yeah, which is
I
interesting.
won't tell anybody.
Yeah. I'm gonna not do that. I'm gonna be very cruel to these robots.
Yeah, I don't. So I had trouble with the controls at first, on PS4.
Yeah.
And I think, but that's, I don't think that's an interesting point of conversation because I think if, I don't know they could have done the console controls any better, asking people to run, shoot, and then also be able to wall run, double jump,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. I
They
think
did
this is a
really. I think
game.
they did as best they could, and it's very successful.
Yeah,
This is the cool part. What up? And this is very pleasurable right here, talking about the controls actually. Like, this just feels really good.
right. I will say, this just reminded me how good, like puzzle, like Portal-esque uh, puzzles can be. Time shifting
Yeah.
puzzles. It reminds me of Quantum Conundrum,
Yeah.
which was sort of a Portal alike.
That was from
I don't
some
remember.
Portal devs, wasn't it?
It was from Kim Swift's team. I
Yeah.
think it was. Forgive me, I forget the name of their studios. Airhead, mate. No, it wasn't Airhead. I
Yeah.
don't know, but it was.
Two quick things. One, this mechanic's pretty cool. It's helpful for players who I think are having trouble conceiving this, which I think it's
Definitely.
interesting. Some people talk about how things like this indicate poor design, but I think this is actually more accessible design. More thoughts on that in a moment, but the other thing I want to point out is let's look at the shape of this puzzle so far. You start off with a pretty easy one, 1, 2, 3, and then the object they give you on here is not just another platform, because look at how the shape of looking at these things doesn't quite clearly communicate. The lighting tells you that one's pretty there. Like, I, being a experienced person who plays video games, understand what's
Uh-huh.
going on. But I feel like in the course of designing this level, they realized they needed to give players the ability to get high, so that even players who are like having a slightly bad day can understand what's going on. Because look, you can more clearly see if I go there, I'll die. If I go there, I'll live. If I go there, I'll die.
Right.
And this is just really cool that they did that. So here we go.
Yeah, it's a strong example of 3D jumping puzzle design. I don't think it's I think it's standard. I think any developer should aspire to do this. It's not particularly innovative. I do, and I agree with you. I think that that giving the player an option to see a guided path through a puzzle is not bad design. It's just you're right. It's accessibility. Like the player doesn't have to use that if they don't want to. And most of the time, I didn't after I got through the first couple levels because it just
Yeah,
took too long. I kind of didn't want it spoiled for me. I wanted to find my own path.
yeah.
But I was always glad it was there. I had the option always if I wanted to.
Oh, that is not going to be fun. I don't know why I went German there.
It's fine.
I'm gonna have an interesting thought about this space we're in later on, but right now I'm just gonna need to solve this combat puzzle for a bit. So Alex, feel free to
Yeah,
I'll
I
pontificate while I.
I feel like I pontificated too much already with too thin of an insight
You're doing
because
great. You're doing
I just
great.
think this is a well we're doing great. Yeah, you especially are doing great managing to not die while talking and playing at the same time. I don't know.
Just as you say that, oh my god.
Well, well, yeah. So I think this. I don't want to like go too hard on this level as being like, um, the creme de la creme of first-person shooter levels this year. But I do think
Ah,
it's really, really, really good, and I sort of wonder why um, more games don't try something like this. This idea of building discrete levels that have discrete challenges, like basically applying puzzle game design to first-person shooter campaign design. I imagine one reason that it's incredibly expensive and time-consuming, and it opens you up to having a lot of holes, like having a lot of bad levels or weird inconsistencies.
yeah. And
But
Titanfall
I,
2 certainly can have its own versions of that sometimes. It's not without some levels where, like, I had some frustrations later in the game with, especially with like the second to last boss battle.
mhm.
I had some frustrations with how that went down because it was very hard to figure out what the game wanted me to like do and feel awesome doing, because it was just an annoying sniper Titan guy. Oh,
Right, yeah, I just beat that guy up and just kept on going. But you're right, there is when you're playing a game, especially this design like this, where it so clearly wants you to have moments. I mean,
it
there
wants you
are
to feel very
combat,
clever.
yeah, there are combat arenas and platforming sections, and there are some um, blending between the two, and then there are these moments where it's like you're going to get up on something cool, or jump down something impressive, or go on a big fight in a big open arena, and there is a pressure on the player to play along, right? To be an actor in this theater,
Yeah,
uh, and that's that's a pressure you don't necessarily feel in I don't know, like in City Skylines or something, like something that is not an embodied first person experience. And I always find that interesting. I wonder how often designers design around that, and how often they realize that the players that they're creating games for are trying subconsciously or sometimes consciously to play along.
yeah.
You know?
And also to the players sometimes like, oh, we're gonna help you feel awesome, but I am not awesome. um,
Yeah. So this game,
Germ points out there's a diagonal wall back there that helps that jumping sequence out. I didn't notice that before.
right?
This is going to be really awesome. I love when I was playing this. Every time I hit a moment like we're about to hit, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, and like
Whoop,
that's I
except
think
I'm
that's
not
the truth.
awesome. Hang on.
Like this, it's going to be harder for you because you have to talk to me at the same time. But this sequence is not, once you figure out what you have to do, is not very hard at all, even on a gamepad. But it looks really
It
impressive,
looks awesome. It feels awesome.
and it inspires you to like create this snapshot in your mind of what you just did. Like basically, you play through a cool cutscene or a cool action sequence, and that
Yeah.
is
I don't think there are any real cutscenes in this game aside from the ones that sort of begin and enter levels.
yeah. No, I think it's all. I think it's mostly all in. I mean, obviously in engine, but also like you're always able to play and look around just like Half-Life.
Also cool, this sequence right here.
Yeah, and like this is nothing new. I don't want to be like Titanfall 2 is some like amazing like innovator in the genre. The idea of set piece moments and creating like majestic moments has been uh, long established in first person shooters, but I so rarely see those moments created in a game like Call of Duty or Battlefield that don't involve combat. Like
Or
it's always charging a hill or jumping into a giant firefight or like whatever. But here you're just trying to get through a facility and you
yeah.
feel amazing doing it.
Let's see. Okay,
This part
into the fire.
I felt really cool
Oh
doing
god,
this
this
part.
I forgot about this
Yeah,
one. This one's awesome.
yeah.
I think there was a
It's
little
good.
trick they did there with that little like hands on the ground thing. Like I wonder that was definitely like a trick that was like supposed to trick you about something. I don't know if it was a loading thing, a just like hey reorient yourself thing. Warblade says the lasers have a very Star Wars Episode 1 feel.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, this is where things start to go south for poor Major Anderson, who did such a good
Parts of
job.
this whole game feel like like what would it look like in the 100 years before they built all the installations you see in like in episode 1? This is what this feels like.
Yeah.
You see these giant like displays and these holographic indicators and these huge spheres,
Yeah.
like right here.
Cool little note. As soon as I head down here, I'm going to see the body of that poor pilot that Anderson just screwed up. See? Poor
See,
guy.
I must have gotten confused because I thought that was Anderson there on the floor,
Oh no, we're going to find Anderson.
but you already found Anderson.
Oh right, yeah. No, we're going to see what happened to Anderson in a bit.
Yeah.
Um, this is interesting. This is interesting because it shows up later as it shows how they're going to use the super weapon for this game. And it's an interesting, just like, I don't know,
Oh, there's an
like...
audio log there. Whoa, I never even noticed
Oh yeah,
that.
there's audio logs in this level, but it's so quiet that I can't hear them, so I'm barely
Oh,
paying
now I
attention
go
to them.
back and listen. It's
Uh,
so cheesy. Can you turn around for a second? Flip time. Like this whole thing. Like, what even is this? I'm pretty sure that's not the laser. That's just a display. So why can't they just have it on a computer screen?
I know,
Let me
right?
know.
Like they needed a whole room to show off, like, here's how our weapon will work. It
It's
is a good,
certainly
I think it's a cool environmental thing in that it is great use of 3D space in visualizing the ultimate threat that this game is trying to convince you of.
yeah.
It's just
I
also
mean,
so unnecessary. Like, this is bad
yeah,
practical UI.
right. I mean, well, it's not even bad. It's not impractical. It's just illogical. I think it's great. I think it's a cool little
Oh my
design.
god, that was so cool.
If I was a level designer, I would definitely, that seems like a neat thing to put in your level. It looks cool. It's great. But, if you think about what a real human being
Yeah.
would do in this room,
I didn't
probably
remember that before. This door, like, no matter what time you're in, a robot kicks you open. There are two robots there.
can't get away from the robots.
I love this sniper rifle that I just grabbed because it's very helpful earlier in the
Is that the double take?
double take. Yeah,
I didn't understand. I must just be a rube. I didn't understand, like, why do I want a sniper rifle that can queue up 2 shots? Like, what? Like, what? It's like having a sniper double-barreled shotgun, which I guess is just something, a cool thing you write down in the margin of your notebook during, like, geometry class. But, like, why?
this whole
Why in
game
reality?
is the cool thing you wrote down in the margin of your notebook during geometry class.
That's fair. I did draw a lot of
I
robots.
drew a lot of Tie fighters,
Mm.
like Star Wars stuff.
Well, they're easy, just two things. And
Yeah,
then
line, circle. Yeah, I
curve
drew like
along.
attack plans for the Death Star.
Yeah.
Brief note: this is interesting the way the game organizes its levels into these 3 sections it has to load in, and it feels like a combination of it must be. Some part of me feels like it must be a. Sorry, buddy.
We should talk. I want to talk more about how you drew plans for the Death Star. Like, I really want to know
Oh,
what.
not plans for like attacking the Death Star. It was just like this 10-year-old's like
Well,
dream
that's
for
even better.
what it might be like to attack the Death Star. I
I
don't
mean,
care.
yeah. Okay. So we can talk about that.
We'll talk
In
about that
in a
later.
future stream, because this is the level. This is the part of the level that really frustrated me.
Yeah.
And it was fine. I didn't think it was necessarily bad design. I just. This is where I really felt like there was no haven anymore. Because throughout
Yeah.
the rest of the level, you can always hide in the other time stream, and even if there are enemies in both streams, like, one is usually much easier than the other. Here, I had a really hard time because I was running out of ammo, and I had to keep running to the weapon depots and switching time. But there was always like 3 guys around me whenever I would switch time, and I just
Yeah.
couldn't get clear.
Just gonna point. Ow! 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 This is
Yeah, I'm
so
probably
hard.
messing this up for you. Sorry.
Yeah, you're gonna see everything Alex just said is about to be put on display. Oh, right. This is where Anderson was earlier, right? This is when we,
Yeah.
This is I'm gonna point out. I'm doing it very badly, but it feels like there's like one other combat hub from earlier in the game that really annoyed me the way I think this one annoyed you. But I think what part of the game wants you to do sometimes is to do this wall, like to take shelter, not just in the doing it. it wants you to not just take shelter in time, but also wall run, because these guys can't hurt,
Definitely.
basically can't hurt while you're running. But it's so hard to shoot these lizard dudes. Although I also think you're maybe not supposed to get bogged down here, because BT's outside screwing shit up.
Yeah, I think I got through it eventually by just running past everything. Um, and I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Like I think the design arena, the combat arena you're referring to earlier in the game is one that gave me a lot of problems as well, which is like a timed arena. You have to just kind of
Oh
survive.
god, yeah, you have to survive while they all rush you. That hurts so much.
I didn't think
Oh,
that was great. I thought it was fine, but it's not. I don't think that kind of design. I think it can be hard to make a timed combat arena without making it either too short to matter or too long to be enjoyable. I think this case it was too long. But yeah, you're right.
wait,
Here,
can
I
I
think
time travel in BT?
you sure can.
Oh my god, I forgot about this. If I, oh yeah, right. You no, I remember this now.
Which also I haven't really thought a lot about, but it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, why? How would?
Probably because you're holding the object.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, justice.
So I mean, yeah, it's impressive that they designed a game that seems sort of fresh and fun and has a decent story, but also inspires plenty of moments where someone might just go, "Yeah!"
Yeah, case in point,
And
me. Uh, it's probably because of the neural link is what Warblade says. Oh right, the neural link, yeah, that they set up to said he could talk
right,
through time, just like that nonsense sci-fi stuff. Nonsense sci-fi stuff is good, by the way. Just gonna point that out. That is fine.
yeah. I mean, you have to be in the right mood for it, certainly.
Yeah.
But when you're in the mood for it, it's nothing better.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, no, I think actually, I think your point is a good point, which is that like probably the way this silly time travel bracelet works, is that anything you're touching goes with you. Otherwise, you'd be naked,
Yeah, it's
without
not
your
quite.
time travel.
Yeah, it's not Terminator. Oh,
Yeah,
right. I have to use this in the present. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Wait. This is actually the first time in the game this came back from Titanfall 1. Hacking knife.
yeah. I think you're right. This is the first time you say it, and they never explained it. It's so weird.
It
Okay,
is
here's
one of those like leftover things from Titanfall 1 for sure.
this. I mean, I don't, I don't want to weigh in and say that like the game designers have to just like burden the player with a bunch of narrative about the lore of the world and how everything works.
They have to
But
burden the player with lore about hacking knives.
part of the appeal to me, and I think a lot of people with Titanfall, is that it's just an interesting universe. Like there are giant robots and hack knives and time travel bracelets. Like
Where did I
that's
leave
interesting.
BT?
And it would be nice to have an opportunity to choose to engage with that lore more deeply in the game itself, rather than having to go to a wiki and try to figure out how everything works and why.
Yeah. Oh, there did I leave
Even
BT?
just like a codex, which I know some people hate the idea of a codex, like it's lazy design work, but it also gives the player the freedom to engage with your world at their discretion, and that's something I think that's worth doing. You got this. Robots. That was mostly
Screw
how
it.
the game goes.
I need to get into BT to solve this situation.
Hmm.
Unless I just go past them.
Yeah, I think. Oh, I forgot about this part. Yeah, I think I just ran to the end. I ran past
Yeah.
everybody at some point. It's a good moment. It's a good. It's good. I think it's real good. I
Yeah.
think this level is probably the one of the standouts of this entire game. And
Yeah.
this game
God,
itself.
like I know, like I think we just did a great job pointing out what's interesting, what works, what doesn't. Also, I love like
Great job, us.
great job us. I think, but also just like above all else, like oh my god, it's so much fun. Like
So, what I was thinking during this part is how much better it is than Quantum Break, and I mean that in a nice way.
sorry,
But
Quantum Break.
I happened to play Quantum Break earlier this year and got through it, and I thought I just enjoy a good time travel story,
Yeah.
so I'll play anything. And I think it's a well-made game. I think it's
Ma-
good.
Warblade just said mannequin challenge.
Yeah, this is probably where that came from.
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
God, no. Real quick, I want to compare this to Life is Strange actually, because there's a bit in Life is Strange. To me, it's not
right.
mannequin necessarily. Oh my God, you're catching it as it's in midair because
It's good.
it's
Oh,
shooting out.
so
Oh my
good.
God, I didn't notice that. Um, uh, I want to compare it to Life is Strange because Life is Strange is actually something similar. I think it's interesting when level designers get a chance to turn their models and environments into these like dioramas.
Mhm.
And I think these guys did such a wonderful job here because look at how this is such a chaotic scene. But you know, this started off as like at some point I think this started off as just like, all right, this is how we kind of want the level to end. So we need to make sure to build out the geometry. And then as they were kind of building the planes they were flying, they must have like like there's no way they started this off and said like, oh well, this has to happen. Absolutely, like this guy here, just kind of hanging
No.
off here.
Although in this example, like I think Life is Strange is a little different. I haven't gotten to the part you're talking
It's
about
in the
without
very last
Dale.
episode when they do it. It's during a big time crisis of a temporal crisis of its own, and you're
Yeah.
reliving moments from earlier in the game. And you just sort of get to look at them from the outside.
I think I don't want to diminish the effort that's involved. I do think like designing any level is challenging, hard work that involves a lot of people. But I think the idea of just laying out a frozen moment is not particularly different from or any harder than designing a normal level because you're just
Yeah,
placing all the
I mean
geometry in it.
it's yeah, the geometry is very approachable, but I guess obviously like, but once the diorama, like I said, to me it's about the diorama point when you start to get to look at your own work as
Right.
like this.
What I wanted to get at though was like that little simple like puzzle you just went through to get out here.
Yeah,
It was very simple. It wasn't hard at all. It wasn't challenging, but it
yeah,
was nice. Like you got to move through a remarkable environment and appreciate the environment and not feel too frustrated.
yeah,
Whereas Quantum Break is a game that's all about time puzzles and time environmental puzzles, and you move through frozen time a lot, like jumping from thing to thing, and
yeah,
you often die because it's not. I at least found it very frustrating, and that sort of took away from the magic of the moment. And here they don't. It doesn't. It's very simple and straightforward.
yeah,
I think that works in this case.
yeah. Hey BT, shout out to all the work they put in on making BT a pretty likable character. I don't. He's like Loaderbot 2.0 from and Loaderbot from Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah. I mean, BT is the star of this game.
Yeah,
It's BT's story. It's not your story. It's not the malicious story.
yeah,
It's BT's.
yeah. How BT made a new friend. I kind of almost wish then that BT like started off the game as like a little resentful of you, that like he has to work with you instead of his pilot who dies at the start. Look at this! Look at this go! He's just riding on his bot's shoulder. I remember this level being really fun. It wasn't. Oh yeah, this is the arc reactor level, which is also an interesting little game design exercise because it's very like. It's very like very. I think the interesting thing I thought of this level is this is almost like you think about your level as a set of A/B states in this one, as
Hmm.
opposed to like one level where the player changes the space around them. It's a level where the player changes the space by physically changing it from A to B. That's because that's what all the interactions were. Which is like back to one last riff on Half-Life 2. Um, it's interesting that they found like Half-Life 2 kind of very clearly defined things around the weapons you got in a given environment, and they clearly defined levels around that.
Right.
And this game they defined it around these very like kind of like I don't know like it's playful interaction with the space around you with this Titanfall 1 defined set of guns and motion.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Half-Life is a better comparison here, definitely, than like Portal. Both of which I've seen made to this game, and both are apt. Like there's certainly some things reminiscent of Portal in this game,
Yeah,
but those things are confined to one or two levels for the most part because they're very test chamber-esque.
yeah,
Whereas this game at large is much more akin to Half-Life because you have these sharp changes in um, tone and atmosphere. So like in Half-Life, you go from like Ravenholm to like I think there's a coast level, there's a car level, there's all kinds of different stuff, and it
yeah,
it all feels of a piece. Like it doesn't feel like you're going from the lava level to the ice level, but it does take you through very different environmental like challenges, and
yeah,
that happens here very well as well.
yeah,
Uh, you're right. Also, the way that like the tools you're given vary depending on the environment and suit the environment very well. So I'm thinking of like the gravity gun in Half-Life, and here you never get the grappling hook, which is weird. That's a multiplayer only thing.
yeah,
But definitely that whole bit with the time jump
yeah,
uh, is very reminiscent of like here's a unique tool and you're gonna have to use it to get through this environment and you figure it out.
yeah. I'm gonna literally play us out, but uh uh whoops. Warblade just want to say that like they felt that it was a little disappointing that you could like switch between all the loadouts on the fly because the Titan loadouts then don't clearly like they aren't able to be clearly defined for the experience. I kind
Yeah,
of
that's a good
agree,
point.
and I think I wish we had another episode to talk about that and just play through the Titan stuff and the multiplayer stuff because it's what you do kind of do in the multiplayer is you pick your Titan loadout.
Yeah, I think that perspective is very strong. If you look at this as a single player game alone, like that could have been
That
this
could
could
have
have
been
been
really
used much
cool.
more effectively. But since it's a multiplayer game, I really value the opportunity to play around with the different loadouts in a relatively safe space
Yeah.
and figure out how they work and change. Because each one has like a unique set of combos and stuff you can do with the like the thermite versus the lock on
Oh, I
missiles and
love the
stuff like
thermite
that.
one. Yeah.
So I think this game, you have to take the fact that it's a strong multiplayer game into account. Like clearly that was a key part of why,
Yeah.
like a key thinking point when they designed the single player campaign. Like you're taught how to double jump well, how to move
Yeah.
through the environment quickly, and how to use the different loadouts.
Yeah. Oop. Oh. Oompa. Wait. Where do I get out? Here.
You're also taught that robots can love.
We're also taught robots can love. BT, you're great. Warblade and Germ the Worm, you're great. Chris Craft, you're great. All the people who turned in today are great. I hope you're all having a good week. I hope we've brought something a little fun and educational for you, taking a look at this level. But it's time for us to go. It is 1 o'clock, and that is when we must sign off these streams. But thank you all for coming.
Hmm.
Thank you, Alex, for joining me, and
Oh,
as we
thank
talked
you.
about robots and time travel and level design and all these things. And
Let's do it again soon.
yeah, let's do it tomorrow when we stream Owlboy with the people who made Owlboy.
I don't think there are any
What?
robots in Owlboy, but yeah,
There are owls in Owlboy. I bet you
that's
that.
true.
All right. Bye everyone. Have a good day. Have a good week. Yeah, let's take it home.